If you're a parent, teacher, or school leader, and you're sick and tired of the frustration, anger, and unfair treatment of children at high risk in our public schools, then perhaps it's time for all of us to do something about it. In this podcast, Dr. Almitra Berry brings you tips, tools, strategies, and tactics to build successful solutions while touching, moving, and inspiring all of us to transform our schools so that every child thrives. Here's your host, Dr. Berry.
Welcome back, Equity Warriors. Thanks for tuning in. Slightly different message today here on the 3E podcast, and I hope you will indulge me. I want to start by sharing with you a little piece of text. The word teacher is rooted in the verb to teach, which means to give instruction. The affix er, means one who. So teach is rooted in an Old English word that means to show, to present, or to point out. So a teacher is one who shows, presents, or points out. That makes it unidirectional or one-sided, as if I have all the knowledge and information to impart to my learners, and they have nothing to give back to me. The idea that people, both children and adults, are merely empty vessels into which we can pour information smacks, in my humble opinion, of elitism. Nothing could be further from the truth. In this text, I primarily use the word educator. It comes from the Latin word educare, which means to lead out. Once again, the affix or means one who, an educator guides. They lead their learners out of one state towards another. It may be from a lack of knowledge of how to read, write, think, or calculate to a state of literacy and numeracy. It could be out of a state of unknowing of history or science or a world language and into one where they can make sense of worlds past, present, and future by integrating the knowledge gained from a study of these subjects. Where you do find the word teacher, you should note the context. There is reason for its usage in that circumstance. Educating is an active relationship between two parties, the educator and those they lead. And a true educator can only lead when learners choose to learn, to follow. Those are the words you're going to find in the introduction to my upcoming book. Yes, I have a new book coming. Here's a little bit more, just to frame it for you. As an educator, particularly in coaching others and providing instruction in English and Spanish, language arts, and reading to marginalized learners over the last 20-odd years, I have witnessed tremendous inequities. These inequities are most often rooted in implicit bias, presenting themselves in subtle and sometimes not so subtle ways. They present in words spoken, gestures used, attitudes taken by teachers and administrators. Not educators, teachers. Not educational leaders, administrators. They present in policies and practices that uphold an educational caste system that relegates a majority of our marginalized learners to forever be seen as unable to achieve, personally flawed, uneducable. It presents in adults dismissing poor outcomes with a shrug of the shoulders and blaming the victim, preceded by the words, well, you know, those kids. Since I was a marginalized learner with multiple comorbidities, I recognize from a very personal place as well as an academic place the damage that inequity does. And that is just one of the many reasons why I'm committed to helping others understand how what we teach and how we teach is critical. It's critical if we desire to be educators, not teachers. It is critical if we believe that every child deserves a high-quality education that will lead to the opportunity for them to become whomever or whatever it is they choose to become in their lives. Inequitable practices result in low achievement. Low achievement relegates children to lives of social and economic disadvantage. It fuels the school to prison pipeline. It results in poorer health and shorter lives. Equitable practices can literally change lives. That's from the intro, folks. What you're going to find in the meat of the book, and the intro is just as important, are 6 chapters. One on educational equity, what it is and why it matters. One on inclusivity and building a culturally connected classroom. A chapter on foundations of equitable assessment, looking at what you are using in your classroom and then fixing or adjusting it to meet the 4 equity indicators. I did the 4 equity indicators in a very early podcast, so we're building on those equity indicators and looking at our systems. There's a chapter on the foundations of equitable grading, looking at your current grading systems, and then again, through the lens of those 4 equity indicators, fixing your grading systems to meet it. And I focused very specifically on the impact of race and assessment, the history and the legacy that is cooked into our school system so that we address equity through a racial lens, which is critically important if we really want to talk about equity. And then, of course, it's not enough to just have the foundations. I wrote a chapter on implementing it. How do you get there? How do you implement an equitable grading system, in your school, or in your district? And it is a step-by-step interactive guide. I'm giving you things to do. You're doing those, writing those, working together in your professional learning communities, because just to have the information is not enough. I wanted to make sure that I could help you evaluate, design, and implement a system that is truly reflective of equity for every single child. And then I firmly believe in reflection and looking at what we're doing. And so there is a whole chapter that is all about reflecting. Lots of prompts, lots of questions, lots of food for thought, conversation starters. Every chapter is filled with strategies, examples, what it should look like in your classroom, what it should never look like in your classroom, examples and non-examples, and then how to make it happen in your school or district. It is interactive. There may be a companion workbook as well as the text to help you map out literally on paper, what should this look like, to help make the change you seek for your school or district. The book is not out in stores yet, for those of you who are wondering. It is being published by Shell Education. That's the Professional Books Division of Teacher Created Materials, or TCM. So follow me on social, follow them. TCM has my other book, Affecting Change for Culturally and Linguistically Diverse Learners, already. And if you have not read Affecting Change for Culturally and Linguistically Diverse Learners, get your copy and then get the foundation for the upcoming book that will build on the learning from the first one. Now, of course, title. Everybody wants to know, what's it called? What's it called? Well, we're still working on that. Right now, it's probably going to be Affecting Change, Equitable Classroom Practices, something like that, but who knows? We'll see. And if you'd like to be one of the first to get a keynote or to schedule professional development based on the new book, or really anything else for that matter, just go to bookdrberry.com. If you have a teacher created materials representative that you work with, your TCM representative can take care of that as well. And then continue to join me every week. Connect with me on social. Use those links down in the notes. Send me your questions, topics, requests to info@askdrberry.com. Of course, I'm going to answer them and bring you some experts. And who knows, maybe you'll be the inspiration for the next book that I have been asked to write. Don't worry about the things you cannot change. Buy my book and learn to change the things you can no longer accept. And I'll see you next time.
That's it for today's episode of the 3E Podcast. Head over to iTunes and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener every single week that posts a review on iTunes will win a chance in a grand prize drawing to win a $25,000 value private VIP day with Dr. Berry herself. Be sure to head over to 3epodcast.com and pick up a free copy of Dr. Berry's gift. Then join us on the next episode.